screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The paupers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance, all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Ways. I am Lindsay Sharman, and I am a shamanic healer, teacher, and guide. I work with people one-on-one for spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical health upliftment. I work with channeling of the spiritual ancestors. I share their messages via my Substack, rogueways.substack.com. And you can go to my site, rogueways.org, to book spiritual channeling, healing, sound healing, past life tarot, and more with me one-on-one. You can also come join me every first and third Tuesday with a small group of people in which I just receive a quick message for you, whatever your question, whatever your request is, whether you share it with us or not, then you get your answer, you get your message from your spiritual guides and allies. That's via Lightning Oracle rounds every first and third Tuesday. All of that and all of my sessions are both linked to from rogueways.org, my main site. And you can also just go to calendly.com/rogueways and just schedule directly there. My books are on rogueways.org, and also my main show, Rogue Ways, which is available on all podcast platforms and other video platforms. My spiritual content tends to be here on Gnostic TV and also sometimes on YouTube and some other places later on. So I'm happy to be here with you today, and we're going to talk about what evil is. Does evil exist? If so, what is it? What is it not? What are our common misperceptions about what evil is and isn't? And some of the avenues through which evil comes or doesn't come. So let's just get right into that today. And we'll start here where there's a really trendy, kind of dark side of the spiritual world, which likes to promote fear. And sometimes that can be helpful. We need to know our enemy. We need to know that evil exists. We need to know where to look, and therefore we can protect ourselves. But we get lost along the way, and we get some really convoluted ideas, and we fail to then see what is actually evil, and evil can come in so many forms. And so how can we spy it if we're stuck in these sort of trendy versions of what evil is? So one of these you see here next to me is a pretty traditional painting of Saturn and the myth of Saturn. And Saturn, of course, is a planet, but in the ancient world, all of our planets were also looked at as higher level deities or gods. And so Saturn has its own sort of deityship and also myths and mythology around Saturn. And so Saturn here is personified as a being holding the sickle of death. Right? You've seen death with the cloak, and death comes and cuts your life away and then takes you to the other side. So Saturn is represented alongside this imagery of death. And we also see Saturn here eating a child or a baby, which of course is awful. And, there are real traditions that sacrifice babies and maybe even eat them. And that's definitely evil. But here, this is symbolic, just like the scythe is symbolic. This is representing an energy, an idea, and an aspect actually of nature. And so there's nothing evil in nature. There's nothing evil in nature at all. There's just processes, and there's things that come and go, and there's balance. And so Saturn here is representing death, and Saturn is also representing time. Kronos is another version of Saturn, and that is also representing time. And time in itself represents death. And it's obvious if you think about it why time represents death, because in time, all things die. And that's not evil, because you wouldn't want to just exist in this body forever, right? You want to transition, you want to move forward, you want to evolve as a soul. And so you're going to die, and hopefully you've become okay with that. And if not, that's a thing to do. That's also one of the things I help with. And accepting death as part of life is part of the joy of being alive, is knowing that it isn't forever and that it's going to end. And there's something about that juxtaposition of life and death that makes life even more sacred and valuable and cherished. But in time, all things die. In time, all things end, except the oneness, except consciousness, right? Except things that are sort of transcending physical reality. But in our normal state of things, all we really have and experience is physical reality. And I'm saying, for the masses, for the unawakened, for the general life on earth or elsewhere, for physical existence, that is what we know. We know death. We know death is going to come for sure. So in time, all things die. And that's what's being represented here. It's not in any way at all indicating that Saturn itself or Kronos himself is an eater of babies or children. Although it is, again, time, babies die, children die. So yes, but not in the sense of like some sort of special malevolence or focus on this or joy in killing. Right? Saturn literally is just the energy of time, and time is the energy which will eventually bring all things to an end in their current form. It is also the thing that will then spark them anew in a new form. In time, all things are reborn. So there's also life in this death, just as all things are balanced, right? Saturn also, therefore, because of Saturn's connotation and association with time, it also has this association with boundaries or, something you have to overcome in time. You have to come up against all of your limitations or all of your fears or all of your shortcomings or all of your challenges. And so Saturn has this energy too of having, good boundaries. Or if you don't have them, then you'll make them in time, right? There's structure here. There's hard edges and limits here. So Saturn also has that sort of association because of this association with time, because of this mythology, and because of the time where we once associated with our planets with gods and gave them each a sort of job or an aspect of reality to take care of. So there's nothing evil in Saturn. There's nothing dark in Saturn. There's nothing negative in Saturn. You might not like death and you might not like challenges. That doesn't make them evil. So we have this very popular, trendy, especially in, esoteric sort of social media and new age spirituality and these sorts of things, focus on Saturn as this evil when it isn't. That is not to say that evil people won't misuse Saturn and invert Saturn and take, the inverted and negative aspects of this and highlight them, emphasize them, or worship them. But that's not fair to Saturn, because the people who are evil or organizations that are evil or energies that are evil will do that to anything. They will invert anything and turn it on its head. They will highlight the negative. They will maximize the negative, and they will worship that or focus on that. So anything could be made to seem just as evil as Saturn has been made to seem by these people. To fear Saturn, though, or to look at it in this negative way is not helpful for you, right? And if you are a person who is healing or who's expanding your consciousness or uplifting yourself, then you start to have to, at some point, look at these things as constructive for you. Right? How can I use time wisely? How can I see the limitations of time and being in this physical body and apply that in a way that is constructive for me? How can I take the lessons and the energy of Saturn and make them properly balanced and integrated in myself? And now you're overcoming evil by doing that, by reclaiming something that isn't in fact dark at all and bringing it back into the light. Saturn has got a bad rap for no reason, just these misunderstandings and misperceptions and also intentional inversions. And again, we'll come back to this again and again, that evil, one of the things it does is it inverts, it goes backwards, it undoes, right? This is part of how we can start to define what actually is evil. Saturn, not evil. Evil is inversion, though, is lies, right? It is misconstruing and misrepresenting on purpose. The deceiver, we could say. So that's one. Let's also look, we have these supposed Saturnian death cults. And so we often are then associating those with this black cube. The black cube imagery is specifically linked to Saturn in many ways. This Saturn actually does have some geometry at its poles that shows the hexagram. The hexagram is associated with the Star of David. And so Saturn has a lot of occult, mysterious, interesting aspects of it. And, the cube also, the black cube also is seen in multiple traditions over time and not usually in a negative way. But we do have some negative associations with it. We do see some pretty interesting black cubes, especially in Mecca, where people rotate and rotate and rotate and rotate and rotate around in mass for how many years now? This, the Kaaba, right in the center of this black cube. And so you could say that may be being misused. You could say there may be intentions there that are negative, or you could say there's intentions there that are beautiful and that maybe it isn't being misused too. You could go both ways. It's up to you. Doesn't really matter. But again, to see the black cube itself as evil is probably not very helpful. The black cube is interesting. And the black cube can, if you've ever seen the sort of animation, if you unroll a black cube or any cube, it actually rolls out into a cross. So if you look at a cross as like square, square, square on either side, and then a couple squares below, you can roll that up and it becomes a cube, right? And the cross is its own mystical, spiritual, symbolic representation of a very specific energy too. So, there may be some inversion here. Like you may take something like the cross, which again represents actually being alive, growing up from the bottom in the earth and raising up towards the heights and expanding out while you do so. It can represent the body in that way, right? If you put your arms out, you're like a cross. And so there's a lot of life affirming. There's a lot of good energy there. We have some negative connotations with it because, Jesus was, and many were perhaps killed on crosses or hung from crosses. So there's a form of torture there. But again, this is a taking of a sacred symbol that was actually ancient long before Christianity or hanging people on crosses even came about, and trying to sully it, trying to invert it, trying to make it negative. So now we have a negative association with the cross. But if you retained the positive, right? Retain the positive. And we could do a whole episode just on the cross. So there's a lot more positive connotations of the cross than what I've even shared. But if you wanted to invert that, you would maybe roll it up into a little cube and you would contain it and you would stifle it, right? And if you wanted to then maximize that, you would then connect it with some of the sacred geometry, some of the imagery, some of the symbolic energy of actually Saturn. And you would invert that too. And you would sort of double down on the power of these symbols, but in a negative way. So you can see how this starts to work. I have episodes on my other channels about what I call synchronous recasting. I don't know that anyone else has ever used that term. It's a term that I developed to describe what I was seeing, which is these black magicians, especially using pretty powerful, already charged situations or numbers or fads or trends or symbols in this case, and using them again and again to sort of like maximize the energy that they could draw forth or contain in their work. And so using the black cube or the cross or inverting these things is part of that same attempt to use what's already powerful and control it, contain it, invert it. And that's evil. That's evil. The cube, not evil. Saturn, not evil. Going around and around a stone in a sacred spot, not evil. Inverting that or siphoning that off, containing that or destroying that, evil. Controlling your mind so that every time you look at Saturn or a black cube and think of evil, that's evil. So you have to start to see this, right? You're taking part in this. You have a role in this, whether you like it or not. I mean, the game is in consciousness. It is in the mind, right? So if they can contain your ideas, if they can control the way you think and then how you feel, now you've been caught. So you can very easily undo this by just looking at a black cube and saying, that's fine. It's just a black cube. It's okay. In fact, maybe there's really beautiful, sacred things that I can discover about life, the universe, and myself by investigating this shape, right? All geometry is sacred. There's no evil geometry. So a cube is a cube, right? And there's many things we can connect with in nature and ourselves by looking at a cube or looking at a cross or looking at Saturn. And so this is what we want to do is we want to reclaim these things. We want to reclaim them and realize they are not evil. That's just fact. And also there are good things to be found in all of them. So Saturn, not evil. Black cube, not evil. The inversion of these things, the control of your mind, that's evil. So we'll look also at another one, which is Baphomet. Baphomet is often darkly presented. Just negative, evil, evil, evil. But it's so interesting. You would just look closer at this image and tell me what about it is evil. So I don't know what's going on in the background here. You know, don't take me to account, but I'm not sure what any of that is. But just this symbol here, it's not only not evil, there's profound understanding to be gained by understanding this symbol. And it is just a symbol. There's nothing more than that going on here. But a symbol is so powerful because a symbol can contain just books and books of information, just condensed down to this simple presentation. It's easy for us to receive. It's easy for us to send via symbols. In fact, the universe works in symbols. Your subconscious works in symbols. Your mind works in symbols. So to be able to create a symbol like this that contains so much truth is really powerful. And this is like memes before there were memes. Before we had memes, we had symbols that were just, they are memes actually, right? Memetics or memes is just the sending of information in a contained way, in a way that can spread easily. And that's what symbols are. So this is one of the oldest memes, you might say. And Baphomet is not a being. Baphomet isn't an entity or an energy somewhere waiting to talk to you or waiting to do anything. No, Baphomet is a symbol. And this symbol is neutral, if anything, good, if anything else. So we'll just look at a couple aspects, and there's a way more. Again, we could do a whole episode just on the symbol of Baphomet, but we'll just look at it, right? And you can take your own take on it. Doesn't matter. I'm not trying to get you to like any of these things. I'm just trying to get you to see the at least neutrality of them and then how they're being used against you. So, you know, the hooves here, hooves are often representing, you know, the difficulty or the hardship of material reality, being in the earth, right? We think of the Taurus and the earth signs, and right, these are down in the dirt, they're material, they're a little bit heavier, denser, not bad. Just, you know, down in the earth, that's a little bit harder than being uplifted or enlightened. And this is just a human thing, right? Even if we are somewhat enlightened, we are still in this body. We still have our sort of base aspects that we have to overcome, our base desires or our base instincts, and we have to heighten ourselves up into our emotional, mental, and spiritual capacities to overcome some of those things, right? We don't want to be just an animal. Our body is animal, but our heart, soul, and mind are not. And so we want to understand that we are more than just that. So the hooves are just the acknowledgement that, yes, we are material, we are matter. We do have this sort of lower or base nature. Again, not negative, it's just true. And as you rise up, you start to see things transform a little bit in the center here of the Baphomet symbol. You see those two snakes intertwining around the pole, and that's the caduceus. And the caduceus is this ancient, beautiful symbol as well that literally just comes down to your energetic channel that you have, that every human has, whether you like it or not, whether you use it or not. Everybody has this inner energetic channel, and that's just how it looks. There's two sides of it, Ida and Pingala. There's many different names, but that's one, and they intertwine. And where they meet, we say you have a chakra. And so they meet 7 times by the time you get to your crown. That's the caduceus. That's all it is. It's just reminding you of this. So again, this is information encoded, the highest levels of information encoded in a symbol so that you can look at it and go, yeah, oh yeah, I get it. I'm a body. I also have that energy channel, and that's how it works. And here's where my chakras are, right? Here in this symbol, it actually sort of stops at the heart. The caduceus would normally come all the way up to your crown chakra, but this is just a reminder again. We also have here the combination of the masculine and feminine. This is not because it's saying that the ideal is a male-female mix. This is not saying that androgyny is superior. This is not saying anything, in fact, about our physicality at all. It is just talking about that the divine masculine and the divine feminine have to come together. And they do that externally and they do it internally. You have divine masculine and feminine energies, no matter what your body shape is or genitalia are, or self-identity is. And then externally, you also would want to be with your match energetically, who also has their divine masculine and feminine, but in a different balance and ratio, so that when you come together, you also are a divine feminine and masculine balance. And that's all that's represented here with the breasts being on an otherwise masculine body. Right? People often talk about how this is some sort of transhumanist agenda to erase gender and to erase sex and to, make this weird androgynous future. And that's not at all what was intended or what is meant by this image or by this symbol. It's a reminder that you are the divine masculine and feminine in balance. Everybody is, and that's the goal of every soul. So no matter your genitalia, that's going on here. We also have this hand, right? One hand up, one hand down. And whichever way you're seeing this right now, your left hand is down, your right hand is up. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but your left hand is your feminine side and it receives. And your right hand is your masculine side and it gives, right? Your left hand receives and therefore it coagulates, they say. If you look at what's written on the arms of the Baphomet, it's coagulate and dissolve. And so you receive the energy of things, like comes together and coagulates into you. You receive it. And then you want to disperse it back out. You're dissolving it. You're sending it out. That's all that is. It's just showing you which side of your body is masculine, which is feminine, and what they do. So if you were doing Reiki, for example, you might be receiving from the universe and sending to the person you'd want to receive through your left and send through your right. Yes, you're one of the rare people who is, other-handed, goofy-handed, left-handed. Maybe it's opposite for you. Maybe you feel that you receive through your right and give through your left. That can happen. So that's all that is. People are like, oh, it's an initiative, like it's a dark, message that people like send to each other doing this hand symbol. And, the Illuminati does it on stage. And I'm like, well, they might. If they're well-versed in the technology of their body, sure. But good people also do it. So they're also well-versed in the technology of their body. It is not the methods, right? It's not the tools. It's not your abilities that are negative. It's how you use it, right? You shall know them by their fruits. So are you doing good things? Well, then you're a good person. Are you doing evil things? Well, then you're an evil person. Whether or not you're doing this hand gestures or symbols or methods of moving energy. So that's all that is. And then we get up and we have this sort of goat head. Well, there's a lot going on here, but one of the things that's going on is this being has horns. Energetically, if you're higher up in your energy accumulation or channeling or consciousness, you see energy channels coming off of people who are in higher states like this. And even in really ancient literature, they will describe ascended masters or beings who are very advanced as having horns or halos. And it looks kind of the same. They have bright lines of energy coming up and off of them, right? And so this is just a matter of attenuating a higher level of consciousness. Your antenna sort of come out and you're able to connect with higher levels of information or energy channeling. And you also see the same in the Baphomet's crown. They have this very extended crown chakra or crown that they're wearing, or, you could take that as the pineal gland ascending, all sorts of ways you can take that. But it's there for a reason. Goats don't have that, right? This is not just a goat. And part of this, people have said too, like the beard shows the wisdom or the wiseness. The fact that it's a goat at that level shows that it might be misinterpreted often or easily mistaken for negative, just like the scapegoat imagery and metaphor. And maybe it means some other things too. We also have the pentagram here, and the pentagram's upright. This is not an inverted pentagram. You will see the Baphomet with inverted, but that is an inversion of the symbol. It's an inversion of the pentacle. It's an inversion for a reason, because that's what evil does. Flips things around, it contains them, it controls them, and it poisons your mind against them. So again, you don't have to like the Baphomet, you don't have to think it's good, but you can at least look at it with this light and see that there's a lot of information put into this symbol. And that's on purpose. It's to be able to help enlighten people along the way and remind them along the way of a lot of things in one. So again, the wings are a symbol of ascension as well. We always think of beings who are winged as having, right, risen up from their lowest nature, risen away from those hooves, risen away from that body, and become their sort of highest self, able to ascend and come back down. And it's a higher level of achievement. So winged beings, haloed beings, horned beings, these are all often actually higher level beings. So that's the Baphomet. Not evil, not dark, just misunderstood, perhaps intentionally, again, because that helps keep you away from your own inner technology, your own inner connection, and your trust in yourself. And that is what evil would love to do. So we'll also go here to this commonly maligned secret societies. And this is, again, one of the trendiest thing to hate is a secret society. The trendiest thing to find evil in, aside from Saturn, the Black Cube, and Baphomet, is the secret society. And let's be really clear. There's definitely evil done in secret societies. Absolutely. There's also evil done in schools, in churches, in governments, in your community organization, in the baseball team down the road. There is evil done anywhere humans are, because humans can choose to be evil. That's the end of the story. Let's reverse that and remember, good can be done in all of those same places. Good can be done in schools. It can be done in communities. It can be done in government. It can be done in secret societies. Yes, all of them. There are no secret societies that there can't be good in. There are some that are very unlikely to have good. That's very true. There's some, and they're probably not even on this very old diagram, which is a diagram of sort of like what some people say are the steps of Freemasonry. And that's not even true either. This document you may have seen a million times if you're into this stuff is not actually true. If you get up, this is how I know. If you get up high enough on those steps, somewhere in there it says Rosicrucianism is a step of Freemasonry. Couldn't be further from the truth. I'm not a part of or know everything about all of these different orders, but I am a Rosicrucian, and anyone can be one, and there's nothing to it. There's just like, it's easy. All their information is free. Even if you didn't want to be a Rosicrucian, you can go and get all their stuff for free. There's nothing secret about it, really. And it's not a part of Freemasonry. And in fact, if you go far back enough in the histories and the texts, Freemasonry broke off from Rosicrucianism. So it makes you wonder, who made this image and why did they make it? I'm not sure. And maybe they really just believed that Rosicrucianism was a step, and that therefore all of these other secret societies were steps. But it's not really true. And you can talk to anybody who's been a Freemason even, and you can see the vast majority of these people are just people, definitely not evil. They're just like guys who want to get together and have a club mostly, or who are interested in the types of things we're talking about here. Like, what actually is Baphomet, or what does Saturn actually mean? And what are some of these esoteric things that are out there? And they're just interested in that. And they want to like get together and talk about it. It's like super normal. It's like the most, in fact, one of like, just lamely normal. And I say that about Rosicrucianism too. If you were to go to a Rosicrucian meeting, you'd be like, oh, this is just a bunch of people sitting around talking about cool things, in my opinion, but pretty normal, pretty lame. So we put a lot of energy into believing that this is somehow the secret structure that runs the world. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of secret structures. There's a lot of attempts to rule the world, and there's a lot of evil in them. And a lot of them do come from some of these traditions. So it might get confusing. You might be like, wait, but those people are Freemasons. And they're doing this evil thing. It's like, well, yeah, but that doesn't make Freemasonry evil. Just like if you saw a teacher abusing a child, you wouldn't say all of school is evil. You would just say that teacher's evil. That teacher used this structure in order to achieve their evil aims. And the same is true for all of these. And you might even have organizations in the world that are much more secret than these, that are actual secret societies in the sense that we don't know about them. And they might definitely poach people from some of these other organizations. Yes, absolutely. And that doesn't make these organizations evil. So you have to be able to discern between these things. And you have to be able to at least say to yourself, the people who would go into these sorts of organizations are not themselves evil. And even if along the way, sometimes some of them become evil or make evil choices or go join other evil organizations, that doesn't make the organization itself evil. You have to be able to discern between that. And, there's a lot of, again, the symbolism that you'll see over and over again, but none of these organizations own those symbols. They don't own the handshakes. People will say, for example, that this is some sort of a Freemasonic hand sign. Well, it is, but it's also a sacred mudra from long before Freemasons were ever around. It's from the Hindu, the Indian, the Aryan, the really, really ancient. This is not evil at all. This is just a very specific way of doing a very specific thing. And you can do it too. And it has to do with healing yourself. It has to do with the nerves in your body. Again, it comes back to like reminding you of the technology of your body and your abilities and your skills. And so, of course, evil would want to stop you from seeing that. True evil would want to disallow you from using this symbol for yourself and for others. True evil would want to make you believe that anything that had any sort of organization to it, structure to it, or order to it, and also contained secrets that, or at least the more hidden aspects of your technology and your spiritual channels was blocked from you. That is what evil would want. And so evil would convince you that those things are evil. And evil would try to make them seem evil to you, and evil would infiltrate them, and evil would use them against themselves. So, of course, that's all true. And so you have to be able to separate those things out, right? You have to be able to see the inversion, see the misuse, see the abuse of the thing that in itself is at least neutral, if not actually good. And so that's true of secret societies, right? And again, there's been tons of people who will go like infiltrate these sorts of groups, and they'll usually come back out and be like, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but it's definitely not evil. And I think really, really scared people who are still basically think almost everything is dark, demonic, or whatever. If it's not like in their church or in their version of the Bible or in their understanding of the Bible, then it is evil. And so that, is a little bit of a different story. But again, if you yourself look at any of this with a discerning eye, you'll start to see that you can't really come to any other conclusion, but that this is all just kind of neutral. And again, most of these aren't that secret. They maybe were at one point, and they had to be at one point because of the same people I was just mentioning, people who are much too afraid and are very, very intent on stifling anything that isn't their specific brand of a specific religion, had murdered, tortured, burnt at stakes anyone who held the remaining connection to the ancient wisdom that we used to all share intentionally, because they're evil. They don't want people to have that connection. So they had to hide. They had to encode. They had to go into symbolic ways of representing things and sharing them together, or else they would be killed. So you have to ask yourself, which one's evil? The one that was trying to crush the wisdom that just is inherent in nature and your body and your soul, or the one who was trying to maintain it and pass it down? I've just heard people say, like, well, then why be secret at all? like, because at a time they would be literally murdered for it. And then they're like, well, then why be secret now? I'm like, they're not. You can find anything you want without ever joining any of these people. You can find details on every single level of every initiation, every text. It's all been leaked. It's all out there. There's no secrets anymore. So not secret, not evil at all. Over on the other side of this image, there's sort of just like kings and queens and different things. And it's like, well, yeah, again, and anyone at any level of any hierarchy could be evil. The hierarchy itself is not necessarily evil. So we'll also talk about Lucifer. Lucifer gets a bad rap too, and there's some negative aspects of Lucifer, just like there's negative aspects of Saturn, just like there's negative aspects of a black cube, just like there's negative aspects of anything. And Lucifer is very interesting because Lucifer is only mentioned once in any ancient text, and it's right here. This is from Isaiah 14:12, and it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" Lucifer is from the Latin as well as light, like lux. The root lux is what Lucifer is from, and it just means light. And so another misconception is people will look at luciferase, which is a chemical that is found in various things, and they'll say this is evil. This chemical is evil. And it's like, no, this chemical is just a Latin name. This chemical means light because it is light, because it is like a bio photon sort of thing. It's lit up. It contains light, and so it's luciferase. Lucifer just means light. It means light bringer. So if you were to read this in the original, you would hear instead, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O light," or light bringer, son of the morning. "How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations." If you were just going to take this at this face value, right? If you're just going to read this, just the words themselves and take everything else out of it, all you would be saying is this light that fell from heaven has weakened the nations, or the people, or us. And if you really get down to it, you too are the light that fell from heaven to incarnate in this body, which perhaps has weakened you in some ways, at least spiritually, as you've forgotten the larger light from whence you came. So perhaps you, in a way, are Lucifer. Perhaps this is a symbol or a metaphor for you leaving heaven or leaving source to come incarnate here in this body. And in a way, what we call that is pride. We were like, I could go do it. I could go incarnate in a body and I could be the light. And here we are doing that. We fell. Not a punishment, not a problem, just a choice, not evil. But it has become more than that. So this is how it was presented in the original text. This is, part of the meaning of it. And people then began to attribute every time the Bible talks about a deceiver, a liar, the accuser, or, the impediment, which we also call devil or Satan, as Lucifer. But they're very different words, and they're very different meanings. So there's really no reason for it. There is just the tradition of doing it, but there's no actual logic behind it. All those other times make sense to maybe put together, right? The thing that impedes you, or the thing that accuses you, or the thing that divides you, or the thing that misleads you. That can maybe all be put into the general pot of Satan. The Satan's also only mentioned a few times in the Bible. And they're negative things that deter us, right? Or that cause us problems. But Lucifer isn't even presented in that way. To say it weakened the people, or weakened the nations, or it weakened us. But it doesn't say that it's a deceiver, or nothing like this. So it's very interesting. So, you can take it however you choose. But I would say it's a mistake to just make it a negative thing. I would say that, again, we've turned it into representing something that means pride, falling because of your pride, right? And we've made it into a warning against being too prideful or too full of yourself. We've made it into an invitation to have a little bit of humility. And that's a good thing. That's a good reminder. This plays the role, therefore, almost similar to like the trickster of the Native Americans, in that it serves you actually to remember this. It serves you to remember how you can fail or what brings failure more likely, and that is pride. So again, the original interpretation here doesn't really talk about that, but it's okay to have started using it in that way and to mean that. We just have to remember that even that's not evil. It's not evil of you if you're prideful. It's just a mistake you're making. It's okay to make mistakes, right? We don't want to do them. We don't want to just, easily let them go either. We want to learn from them and grow from them, acknowledge them, and, but it's not evil. So again, in modern culture too, in popular culture, we have like a show called Lucifer, and I think it really harps down on that pride angle and that gluttony angle, maybe, but it's that self-serving sort of thing. But it's also it's a bit much. And so again, Lucifer is an idea, at least it's a symbol, at least, and it might be a consciousness or a being, but I would say it's closer to an egregore, if anything. And Rudolf Steiner, one of the great thinkers, talks about Lucifer as more as that than as a being, right? As this aspect of consciousness, or this egregore in which we are confronting ourselves to a degree collectively and learning to overcome collectively. And so Lucifer is more of like a collective consciousness, pride, self-obsession, shallowness, right? And those sorts of things that are mistakes we make, and that they're like maximized in this time, but we're overcoming that. We're learning to see the mistake and grow from it. And so Lucifer then is doubly not evil. It's just a thing we made that weakens us and that we are growing through and overcoming. So, it kind of takes the power away from it being able to be used against you in a negative way when you reclaim that. Again, take it back from the people who are actually evil, who are inverting all of this, twisting all of this up, making it a fearful thing for you, and using it in that way to control you. And, so what is evil? Is it even like rot? Is it like decay? Is it like the destruction of life? Like that's not even actually evil either. Right? Like this is actually a natural part. We talked about Saturn and time and death being part of nature. Well, so is decay, and so is rot. So are things that are not necessarily what we would call like life. But they are. Even when we die, even when we decompose, even when we rot, we just return to the earth. We return to a different state. Our consciousness isn't rotting. It's off. It's out doing its thing. Just our body is rotting. And this is actually just a beautiful thing. It makes the soil richer. It makes the next thing to come grow even brighter, right? Even more richer in nutrients. So even rot, decomposition, and decay, and these things are not evil. And I just say this because sometimes people think it's simplistic like that. Like whatever isn't live is therefore evil. But it's like, no, the darkness or the rot or these sorts of things, they have a purpose too. And they actually serve life in the end as well. And technically everything does. But if we're going to get down to what evil is, it is also not this. So it deserved at least a moment of mention that those things are also not evil. But what evil is anti-life. So it's not death. It's not decay. It's anti-life. It's anti-life affirming. It is anti-freedom. And it's anti-growth. And I mean that in the sense of the word of self-growth, of the growth of the soul, of the evolution of the being. Because cancer is growth and it's not good, right? Let's be honest. So not just growth for growth's sake, but that type of growth, that type of evolutionary development of consciousness of the soul of the self. And what you see here beside me is the anti-life equation from the Marvel comics, but or is it DC? I don't know, and I'm really sorry for those of you who are offended now. But the anti-life equation is just this idea that this, real bad guy Thanos is after this equation that can just end all life in the universe. Done, period. If you get your hands on this equation, if you can sketch it into the grounds of a Earth or of somewhere, then you will destroy all the life. So he's after this. He wants to destroy all life. That's his goal. Life is messy and it's annoying, and he wants to be the master of all of it by destroying it. And that's evil, right? That is evil. Evil is the thing that says, oh, life exists. Well, watch me destroy it. Watch me harm it. Watch me impede it. Watch me invert it. Watch me make it harder for life to be in peace, in harmony, in love. Which means lower the resilience of these things, lower the ability of these things to choose for themselves, to see clearly, to evolve. This is evil. So all the inversions we just talked about, they in themselves were not evil, but the inversion of it is evil because it restricts you, right? It puts you in that black cube. It puts you in that box. It shuts you down. It turns you off, right? The spraying of poison in the sky is evil because it is inherently anti-life. It restricts life. It restricts growth. It restricts freedom. It restricts evolution. Censorship, the putting down of oppositions and politics and opposition parties and movements is evil. Because the will of the people is the choice to grow, create for themselves, create life the way that they see fit. That's evil. The restriction of your ability to think for yourself, to feel your emotions, to choose for yourself, to grow, to be free. And remember, freedom doesn't mean controlling other people. Freedom means for you, you get to choose, you get to be, you get to thrive. It doesn't mean you don't have to work for it. It just means you get to choose to do it and then seek it and create it for yourself. But the anti-life would say life is worthless, or life is disgusting, or freedom is messy. And these sorts of things have to be controlled or destroyed. That is evil. That is anti-life. We're saying this so that we can start to identify, again, like we said earlier, by the fruits which are produced, what is good and what is evil, what is good and what is bad, because those words in themselves otherwise don't mean anything. It's totally relative, what is good and what is bad, unless you know what you mean by what is good and what is evil. And what is evil in this case is anything that is anti-life equation, right? Anti-life equation, anti-freedom, anti-truth, pro muddying of the waters, pro holding tight the veil, all of those things, which again, you may say, okay, but secret societies are Secret societies were preserving the information that was trying to be destroyed by certain groups of people who would like to control you. Can't control somebody who knows themselves well enough to utilize the technology of their bodies and their hearts and their minds and their souls in order to ascend and bring other people with them and serve life, serve the life force energy, serve the light, serve all that is good, true, and beautiful. You can't control people who have found that, and so you have to work to control it, and that is evil. Again, you can use those structures for evil, you can use them for good, but their original purpose was to preserve something that many were attempting to destroy and erase from human history altogether. And they did not succeed, and we should be grateful for that. You don't have to love secrets. You don't have to love secret societies to at least value that intention to preserve information that was intended to be destroyed, kept from you eternally. So maybe you even have some praise for them or some appreciation for them, but at least you can start to see what you can define as evil, that which would love to destroy, restrict, or shut down life and life force energy and the free flow of the life force energy and its ability to choose for itself how it proceeds. That is what evil is. And therefore, good is life. It's just existing. Good is the life force energy in action. Good is every expression of life that we see. Nature, therefore, is good. Natural evolution is good. I'm not talking about evolution as a theory of human, coming from whatever. I'm talking about the evolution of the soul, of the mind, of humanity as a collective consciousness. That type of evolution. This is what life wants. Life wants to exist, progress, and grow. It wants to organize into higher and higher forms, right? It wants to ascend into its highest nature, not its lowest. It wants to do this in an unrestricted way. And life is naturally harmonious. We don't have to control it to make it harmonious. It just is harmonious. So life is, when it's unfettered and free, life is harmonious. It doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean there's not messy things in nature. It doesn't mean we don't die. It means that we tend towards harmony. We tend towards this sort of equilibrium. We tend towards this naturally co-productive life, reaffirming one another and all of the systems of nature naturally. We do that naturally. But those who would like to restrict and control and divide and conquer and keep you from being free, control information, control you and your choices, that's not harmonious. It doesn't jive. It creates all kinds of problems all along the way. It creates them in the air and the sky and the water and the land and the animals and in you. And it creates disharmony at the higher levels too, because life force isn't as freely flowing up to those levels either. It's all good. It's all going to be good in the end. But you have to know what you mean by good and evil. Otherwise, you will be fooled into believing that there are organizations that are good or evil, that there are, things that are good but that are actually evil, or things that are evil that are actually good. You'll be making mistakes left and right if you haven't clarified for yourself how to determine what is good and what is evil. More and more so, it will likely become harder to discern if you haven't clarified this for yourself. So super important that you get clear on it. And again, I will suggest that instead of looking and seeing, oh, is this person A, Y, B, or C, right? X or Z. Instead of doing that, look at the person or look at the thing and say, what does it produce? And you will know them by their fruits. What does it produce? What has it produced in that person's life? What has it produced in the world? This is how you know if something is serving the life force energy or if it is attempting to inhibit or destroy the flow of the life force energy. Not that hard once you get down to that. If you can get that clear with yourself and you can start to look at the world that way, you will start to see what is actually good and actually evil, and you'll be much less confused about all of these things. Because no matter what you're looking at or where you are, you can just answer those few questions and go, okay, now I know, right? I always sometimes say, like, I can't believe some people can't tell this person's evil. Look at all the things that they do. And again, it doesn't come down to party. It doesn't come down to politics. It doesn't come down to age, gender, sex, religion, nothing. It comes down to the fruits. That's how you will know. So now you know. If you didn't know before, now you're more clear on it. If you weren't clear before, or you are in harmony with it, more than you were before, hopefully. And so I'll just invite you, if you want any more clarity on this or anything else, if you want support in your spiritual path, if you want to learn more spiritual practices or get a spiritual healing, you can come to get my soul services and healing and my support at rogueways.org. All of my one-on-one sessions are there. I work remotely, so it doesn't matter where you are or when you are. We can connect and do all of this work together. You can also come to my Substack. You can support what I do there. I really appreciate your support, whether it's at the free subscription level or the paid subscription level. All of you paid subscribers, you are the reason I get to keep making content like this and keep supporting people in their spiritual journeys. So thank you for your support. If you find value here, I hope you're sharing value back in that way. Or again, if you just want to come sign up for free and keep in touch at rogueways.substack.com. If you are at the paid level, you also get those channeled messages as they come through from the spiritual ancestors, which are very powerful. And especially during this time of change, they're really good to have. Enlightening Oracle Tuesdays, first and third Tuesday of the month, you can get a message from your spiritual guide or ally. It's the easiest and the most affordable option that I have for you to connect with your spiritual guides. So come do that. It's always a fun session that we get to do together, again, via Zoom. And so that's first and third Tuesday of every month. And it's at calendly.com/rogueways, which again, you can link to from my site, rogueways.org. So all of that is there for you. And I hope that I can support you in your journey, however it is that happens for you, and however I can support you. I also will remind you, I'm doing this huge retreat in Creston, Colorado this summer, solstice, June 2025, 18th through the 22nd in Creston, Colorado. So that's there at the site, rogueways.org, if you want to check it out. I hope to hear from you, connect with you, sign up for the email list at rogueways.org. There's also a free meditation and spiritual guide that you get if you do that. And so there's many ways to keep in touch and connect. And until you do, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Glued to Bigger than screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that a flicker rate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.